This episode of our podcast is brought to you by Duliban Insurance. If you live in Ontario, Canada, and are looking for the best price and coverage for your Tesla, give Duliban a call at 1-855-385-4226 or visit their website at dulibaninsurance.com/Tesla.
You guys are driving to Florida in like 3 weeks.
That's right. We're going to be there in 3 weeks, so let's get the show on the road.
Actually, 2 weeks and 6 days.
Exactly. So somebody's
That's over
counting.
3 weeks. What are you talking about?
No, it's less than 3 weeks.
Less than 3 weeks.
Well, tomorrow I'm heading out of town for the weekend via Disney to run
Oh, yeah, you're doing that, aren't you?
half and 39.3 miles.
Wow.
Good Lord.
Good luck to you.
Not at one time, though. I'm just running 3 half marathons over 2 days. That's it. That's all I'm doing. Just 3 half marathons.
Nothing to it.
Well, we want to welcome everybody back to the show. As you can see, we're just having a little bit of banter here. Listen, if you guys are new to the podcast and new to the show, welcome. We certainly appreciate you guys giving us a little bit of your time each and hopefully every week so that we can talk about Tesla and all things kind of fun out there. I'm joined by my two co-hosts there, Ian Pavelko and Eric Camacho, who have been commiserating. We're talking about Florida. We're getting, two of us live in the Great White North, and we're very tired of the winter.
Which has just begun, and we're already sick of it.
Exactly. And, Eric, he's enjoying whatever weather that is being bestowed upon him. How is it down there today? Is it warm?
It's been warming up. We had some cold weather at the start of the week. It's been warming up.
Okay, but cold to you is what?
Well, for Floridians, having weather in the upper 50s when they're not used to it. I mean, I've seen people walking around with like wool caps, jackets, gloves, the whole thing, and I'm walking around with like a short sleeve shirt and jeans. And like, what are you talking about? It ain't that cold down here.
That's t-shirt weather for us too. So
right. And you guys will wear t-shirts when it's like 30.
Hell yeah.
Right.
Hell yeah. I roll convertibles when I go down there. Like, top down, it's 45 degrees. I'm at the Taco Bell drive-thru at 10 o'clock at night. And people are like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? They're all walking by in parkas.
Remember, our blood is 50% maple syrup. So.
Well, they're also wondering what you're doing at a Taco Bell, but that's a different story.
Because we don't have them here. Well, not in Quebec anyway.
Actually, Taco Bell. I hear about Del Taco. Is that supposed to be pretty good?
There's Del Taco. Del Taco I had in California. I was not impressed.
No? Oh, okay.
No.
Well, sorry for the Del Taco lovers. We apologize for that. But I will say the coffee at McDonald's in Canada is better, though.
Well, here's the question, though. Has anybody ever had a bad taco?
Yes.
Really?
Fine, bad.
Right. I mean, you're saying like Del Taco wasn't that great, but would you say you had bad food there?
We made tacos literally 2 nights ago here at home, and my wife used, for the first time, corn flour tacos, the soft ones. Mm-hmm. And if you've ever had them, and I don't know if it was just this manufacturer. Sorry, folks, we're talking about tacos here.
I love how you call them corn flour when they're just corn tortillas.
Well, sorry, it's a corn tortilla. Anyways, it tasted. I didn't like the taste of it. It was falling apart. It was all crumbly. And, tacos are pretty messy to eat with in the first place, and this just made it even worse. So I said, don't buy those anymore. So she said,
you're doing it wrong. As a person who, as an aficionado and as a consumer of corn tortillas, because I can't have flour tortillas thanks to my celiac disease, I will tell you that the trick to corn tortillas is 2 things. One, you have to warm them up just enough where there's not too much moisture inside the dough so that things don't just seep through, but you don't want it too dry, which makes them that brittle. So if you do warm them up enough and keep them warm and you don't put too much ingredients on it, you're totally fine.
I had really good tacos in San Francisco in the Mission
District.
District.
Oh my God, San Fran! Mission in San Francisco. For those of you guys that do not know, Mission Street or the Mission District in San Francisco is the mecca. It is the holy grail of tacos in North America. And
so good.
You can't find any, like, you go on a street
There's
corner,
no bad place to eat.
There's no bad place to eat. There's like a taco place every 5 feet, it seems like, and they go a taqueria. Oh, they're all amazing. And you get all kinds of tacos. They got gringo tacos. It's amazing. If you ever find yourself in San Francisco and you love tacos, go to Mission District.
I can't take it anymore. Okay, I haven't had a gram of carbs since New Year's. Okay, you're killing me. We gotta switch the dish.
Well, listen, rest assured, you have a vacation coming up very soon. When you come here to Florida, we'll make sure you have some carbohydrates, so you get some of that Florida weather back, and then you get some weight a little bit, and you head back to Canada, and then you're insulated for the rest of winter. You're good.
Yeah, that's exactly the plan.
All right.
There you go.
3 weeks away. All right, enough talk about this. Let's get in. We have some Tesla news that we want to talk about, and a little bit later in the show, we will answer your viewer and listener questions. By the way, I should mention the questions that we get for the show are submitted via a Google form that I post on my Twitter account. The handle is at Tesla Owners Online, and you can submit your Tesla or car questions, and we will do our best to try and answer them. People seem to love the questions, which is awesome, and we
You
do
changed
too.
your Twitter handle?
Yeah.
No, it's just Tesla Owners Online, or search for at Model 3 Owners.
Okay,
whichever
I was
one.
going to say you confused the audience for a second.
Sorry, I didn't change it, and I'm not about to change it. It's
So
just
just go
either
with
one
it.
works. You can use that. Anyway, so that's where we get the questions from. All right, this week, you know what? Before we get into the Tesla news, let's talk about the stock a little bit. It has been on an absolute tear this last couple of weeks, but especially this week. It just barely kissed $500 a share as of yesterday. I think it hit about $498 and some change. It's down a little bit today. Eric, have you been? I've been monitoring it today here, but what's the close? Did you have it in front of you?
I did have it before the stock closed at, and it fell down about 10 points today. It's closed at 481.34.
Still good though.
Oh no, it's way up there. I think we're seeing some serious short squeeze action at this point.
Can you think?
Well, at some point they got to cover. Apparently, there's still guys out there holding on, like not covering yet. And I'm like, oh my god, the pain.
Well, yeah. Well, hopefully they don't hold on for much longer, because they're going to lose their shirts at this rate, anyways. At this point. Now, as
And their
far
shorts.
as who wants some short shorts with that? You know, listen, we're not financial people. We are going to have somebody on the show fairly soon, maybe when the Q4 numbers come out, to give us a whole rundown on the whole thing. But my thinking about the stock price and why it's been on a tear, I think, could be a couple of different things. Now, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a financial guy here, but part of it could be the fact that there's a lot of confidence in the market now that the Gigafactory 3, which we're going to talk about here in China, you know, the Chinese deliveries have started. Confidence in the Q4 numbers because of Tesla's deliveries exceeded their production, or is it the other way around? I forget now. Anyways, so it's looking very, very good for Tesla. The other thing too is that it could be that there's shares being dumped on the market because a lot of the shorts are starting to get squeezed and get out now. So there's a mad rush for a lot of people to try and buy that stuff. That's my thinking. But like I said, I'm not a financial guy, so I don't know exactly what's going on. But obviously something's been pushing the stock, and so hopefully we'll find out a little bit more a little bit later. Anyway, so let's get into some of the Tesla news. On a good front here, Tesla. Now, this is an article courtesy of our friends at Tesla Ride. Let me bring it up so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. Now, Tesla has been clearing the trees just out the German Gigafactory 4 location, which is just outside of Berlin. They say that crews in Germany have started preparations for the groundbreaking of the Gigafactory 4. Recently shared videos from the piece of land in Grünheim in Germany revealed that some of the trees are currently being cut down to make way for the upcoming electric car production plant. The trees must be removed from the forest by February 27th, according to an environmental report on Gigafactory 4. However, there has been some news recently that they ran into a little bit of a problem. Apparently, there's some endangered bats in the forest. So it looks like they have to do some environmental stuff or halt a lot of this stuff until they get that thing sorted out. I don't have a subsequent article on that, but I know.
Well, no, this overall.
This is a good thing. I mean, you know, you don't want to be endangering animals.
Well, no. That part I get. It's a byproduct, of course, of innovation. My problem was always with when you have to get to the point of tearing down forests to build something. And from what I gather, there's no intermediate plans that I'm aware of, and there's nothing been announced where they're going to either replant as many trees as they're removing elsewhere somewhere else. But if
Yes, that is the plan.
Yeah. So that's the thing that's really important. I'm someone who looks at what's happening in Australia, and I'm saying, can we stop building massive factories? I understand there's a certain need for this. I just wish it was not in a location where you had to then disrupt an existing forest just to build this thing. So that's just my 2 cents for right now.
Well, the article does go on to say that Tesla initially announced that the deforestation would result in the company planting 3 times as many trees to replace those that have been cut down due to Gigafactory 4's construction plans. So they are, I mean, you know, the thing with Tesla is that they are environmentally responsible. I'm sure that they knew going into this facility and stuff, that they would have to do obviously the right thing and stuff. And I'm sure the German government would let them do anything silly because they're pretty forward thinking a lot of that ways. So the fact that they're actually moving forward with this and starting the planning stages, at least for surveying and stuff, is good news. Now, again, this is Germany. I don't think that they're going to move quite as fast as what they did in China. And we'll talk about China here in just a second. But it really bodes well that Tesla is on their plans are moving forward, and they do need to do something in Europe because they have issues with importing, and the cost, the cars cost a little bit more and stuff like that. So, anyways, all good news. Speaking of which, let's talk about China real quick. What is today here? Today is the 9th. So 2 days ago, officially, Tesla started deliveries of the made in China Model 3s at the Gigafactory 3 location in Shanghai. Elon actually flew in for some of the ceremonies. Now, I'll link to some videos. You guys can watch it. And it was pretty interesting. I mean, there's some hiccups, obviously, with translations that are going on and stuff. But I think the best part of the whole presentation is Elon's dance that went viral. Now, if you guys haven't seen it, I got a little short clip here. I'll just put it up. You guys can't see it, but here's Elon on stage with the presenter. This is courtesy of Bloomberg, by the way. And Elon's just kind of getting into the groove a little bit, and eventually he starts going. I don't have the music playing, by the way, but
Elon doing the Elaine.
Yeah, Elaine. Yeah, if we don't know what Elaine we're talking about, here's there's an episode of Seinfeld back in the 90s. It was quite hilarious. Here's Elon. He's tearing off his jacket, and he's just going to town. He's doing the Egyptian thing. He was having a lot of fun. Now, I don't know if there was alcohol involved, but he certainly had a good time.
Well,
Elon, don't give up your day job,
There
Elon.
were some interesting timing where Grimes, his current love interest, had an Instagram post about that kind of was cryptic in nature, and also NSFW, for those of you who haven't seen it yet. Mm-hmm. And there were some people questioning, does that mean she's pregnant? So if he found out, hours before the post that he's going to be a dad, I mean, you never know if he was drinking the party punch. But either way, it's just nice to see him relax in an environment like that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, I just want to know, what are your guys' take on that? Because that was a big talking point at work today. And
I don't care. It does. You know what? It doesn't matter. Listen. It's just having a baby, if it's really a thing. Can we just move on? I'm someone who says, great, congratulations. He's got kids already from his prior relationships. So what? We put too much emphasis on celebrities or people of fame, and we focus on their private life too much. You want to talk on his work with SpaceX or the Boring Company or Tesla? I'm all for that. But what happens in his private life? To me, I don't care. That's his private life. I wouldn't want my life showcased for the world to see all the time. So frankly, I don't care. I know there's an audience that has a satiate appetite for that, but I'm just not one of them. I'm
with you on that. Honestly, I didn't care, and I saw the tweets and I saw the speculation stuff, and I didn't retweet. I didn't comment on any of that stuff. Personally, it's his personal life. That's not of interest to me as far as what's going on. If they are having a baby, well, congratulations. That's all great. But in the grand scheme of things, it's none of our business. I'm
with both of you on that. It's like I don't follow any of that stuff at all. I'm interested, if I'm interested in any kind of artist or actor or whatever, it's for their work. It's really what they do in their own spare time. I think we have way too much of an obsession with that in Western culture. It just was it just caught me completely off guard. So that was one of the rare instances where I was like, wait, what?
She is a bit of a strange person. But that's probably part of our marketing aspect. I don't know. But anyways, you can look for it. You can certainly Google it. Matter of fact, I actually spent a little bit of time in my car today because I'd never listened to her music. So I just went into Spotify, typed in Grimes, listened to it, and I'm like, yeah, okay, not so bad. It's not something I would normally listen to all the time. Coming from a guy who listens to a lot of Deadmau5, but that's just me. Anyways, check it out for yourself. All right, moving on. Prior to the deliveries that happened in China, there was a rumor going around. Now, this article here is courtesy of Teslarati again, that there was a leaked photo that showed Model Y could potentially begin production as of tomorrow. This was the day before. Now, of course, this is not what happened. That's not what they announced. But Elon did confirm that, of course, as we've known in the past, and in case you don't know, that Model 3 or Model Y will be produced at Gigafactory 3 in China, as well as Fremont. So there was a lot of speculation going on. Are they going to start production in China before Fremont? So we still think that Model Y should be produced somewhere, what were you thinking? March, April timeframe should be about.
Yeah, I was saying late spring, early June.
Yeah, somewhere in there, which is all good. But Elon did say and did confirm at the Gigafactory 3 for the Model 3 deliveries that Tesla is planning to build a new design/engineering center in China where they will create an original car for worldwide consumption, so not just for the Asian market. And they would be doing some radical designs similar to Cybertruck. Wow. I was not expecting that. I think what's going on here is that there's a possibility, and of course, when the Cybertruck was announced, everybody was doing all these. Remember, everybody was going on Twitter and doing all these concepts of like what a Cybertruck sedan would look like, and this and that good thing.
Cyber Roadster, Cyber Sedan, yeah.
So maybe this is not quite so far fetched after all. Maybe Tesla's seen that the demand and the likes for the Cybertruck. Not everybody likes them. Our good friend Mark Benton, we love you, but he doesn't like the Cybertruck, which is all fine.
You're not alone, Mark.
I think he'll change his tune. I think he'll change his tune when he drives it. But irrespective, what do you guys think? I mean, do you think the Cybertruck idea design is something that people would appreciate in a sedan, or be parlayed to the rest of the product line? No. Or do you really think is that it's just the pickup truck only thing? I mean, we have talked about this, but Eric, we know your feelings.
All right, I'll just leave right now. See you guys later.
All right. No, I know Eric hates the idea. I understand. He's not alone. It's a super polarizing design. I mean, we've been talking about it for weeks now. But you're right. There was a huge amount of interest, like people speculating and saying, how cool would it be if you could have a cyber car? And I got to admit, I'm part of that crowd. I would be really interested if they made like a compact sedan. A coupe would be awesome because that's really what I want. But yeah, like a real practical little hatchback coupe. Just like a 2/3 scale Cybertruck would be awesome. And to me, it's a really interesting trade-off. It's not that I think it's particularly beautiful. I think it's shocking looking. And that's what I dig. It's just so friggin' weird. I've grown to love it for its weirdness. But it's the practicality of it. It's like we're all so bizarrely obsessed now with parking our cars 6 miles away. God forbid the aluminum doors should get a ding in them or whatever.
I know.
You can sledgehammer these things all day long. You don't have to wash them. You don't have to do squat. It's like the lazy man's dream. So just for the practicality of the design, and also living in Quebec, which is like salt heaven, and never having to worry that this thing's ever going to corrode. Like there's a lot of huge bonuses with that particular design that I think would appeal. Now, would it have wide market? Well, I don't know. Wide market appeal? That's tough to say. But I think
it remains to be seen.
He sells some of them for sure.
Well, I'll be curious to see. I mean, China's got a lot of cool ideas. I mean, if you look at the Chinese market in terms of EV startups, I mean, God, you can't spit without seeing some kind of EV startup in China. And they have some really cool ideas. BYD has a new concept that they just showed off at the CES show. It looks really, really slick. I do believe that Fisker used some Chinese design engineers over there. I mean, there's some stuff like the Faraday Future. Faraday never, but whatever. There's no shortage of good design coming out of China in a lot of ways. So I think it's an untapped market, and I think Tesla's smart about doing that. Now, they did say that they were going to do something, I think it was in Europe, right? They were going to start a design studio. I believe they said that. I could be wrong on that. But I do remember him saying something about something to that effect. So, speaking of which, before I forget, Elon did mention in the speech as well that Model Y will be featuring some new manufacturing techniques. So, if you're not familiar with this, we've talked about this on the show before. Tesla does have at least 2 patents out as far as manufacturing is concerned. One of them is for the actual bottom part of the chassis of the Model Y being a cast piece of aluminum. So they've taken out this patent for this massive machine that they've built. So that's going to be one of the items that we expect to see happen. The other one is possibly, and we haven't had this confirmed yet, but there's been a lot of talk about this new wiring harness that they developed so that robots can actually install it and clip everything together without having to have human hands involved. That's another patent they put out. I think that came out in March of this year. And who knows, maybe some other stuff that we haven't seen yet. Anyways, he said that was going to be revealed in the near future. So whenever we see Model Y, we'll find out about it. I'd love to be able to get a hold of one of these things and actually tear some of it apart to see exactly what they've done. I'm sure there's going to be some enterprising people on YouTube that are going to do that. So,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. Another article from our friends at Teslarati. This one is really interesting. Tesla will provide cars for Daimler and BMW subsidiaries mobility service. This has got to hurt. They basically say that the latest report by German publication, oh my gosh, I can't even pronounce this. Soll the Deutsch? Okay, I probably butchered that. I apologize. They revealed the plan of mobility provider FreeNow, formerly known as MyTaxi, to buy electric cars from Tesla. The company is one of the leading mobility providers in Europe, with its services available in over 100 cities and more than 100,000 drivers using its service. They go on to say that the Hamburg-based mobility company was established in 2009. Then it was bought by Daimler in 2014. Last year, Daimler partnered with BMW for its mobility operations, and both companies promises to pour in €1 billion to help scale the brand. All right, guys, thoughts on this?
I mean, I think if I recall correctly in reading the story, they're simply just adding to their existing fleet. So they obviously have cars that are not electric as part of their fleet already. I think it's good to just add some versatility and some flexibility to what your fleet even has. If it's like rideshare applications where you can select the type of vehicle you want, if it's for a luxury car or something more efficient, and that's a service that they're providing as well, then fantastic. It also happens to help the company's bottom line because you're not spending on fuel costs. You're just using, rechargeable infrastructure in those areas, which we know Europe is full of them. So I think it's a win-win for everybody, but it helps Tesla in terms of its sales numbers, but it also helps those that are interested in having more of these taxis, and especially if robo-taxi programs come online sometime in the next 5 to 10 years, then you essentially now already have some of those cars that can be driverless in the future.
We do know that German companies do admire Tesla's engineering. They've bought Model 3s. All of them have. And they've torn them apart. We've heard through the grapevines that they've been summarily impressed with Tesla's what they brought to the market for those cars. So obviously some of that stuff. I mean, listen, this is not uncommon. All the car manufacturers do that. They buy each other's products. They tear them apart. It helps with their competitive advantage and planning for the future and stuff. But I really wish we'd see more. I mean, it's frustrating. I mean, I just tweeted out an article yesterday that BMW has basically said that we're not giving up on gas cars. We're going to have gas cars at least for the next 30 years. And, the EV market, nobody wants EVs in the U.S. I'm like, really, guys?
Oh, my God.
It's like...
Well, you know what? All right. So I don't agree with it 100%, but I will at least sort of kind of say this that's in support of that is, do you guys know roughly how many... auto sales, I think in 2018, were EV in North America.
Depends on the market. Overall, North America.
Overall, of the total market, how many were electric?
It's less than 1%.
It's about 2%, close to 2%.
Oh, 2%.
Yeah,
it's about 2%. So when you think in terms of those numbers of total automotive sales, and only about 2% were electric vehicles. Granted, that's 2018, but that's when Model 3 was really hitting its stride in terms of mass production numbers. And it still only accounted for about 2% of the total market with all other brands out there like Chevy and others. It's understandable that some are reluctant to just make the leap into going electric without having the gas cars, because there are some owners that are going to stick to their guns and always want a gasoline vehicle. You don't want to actually alienate those customers. And right now, there's no incentive, there's no push, both in terms of government legislation and other localities that are really trying to get incentives put out there to make it worthwhile for someone saying, yeah, we'll go electric. I mean, if I'm someone who drives a gas car, and you tell you what, if you buy an electric car, we'll come to your home, install a charging station for you, and even give you a discount on your electric bill, a person might go, well, then if it's going to save me more money and you're making it worth my time and money, then sure, I might do that. Well, that doesn't happen. There's not a lot of programs that are out there in the world. So I get that there are executives in some of these companies saying, yeah, we might offer one or two as an option, but we're not making it our creme de la creme of our fleet. It's understandable because right now, how is the world transitioning into renewable energy? We know we talk about it, but where's the major push to do that? It's not happening globally. And I think even China is one of those that while they're trying to do some things, they're one. I mean, right now, U.S., China, other countries are leading producers of pollution in the world. We're trying to do things better, but we're clearly not doing enough. We hear all the time now about how climatologists are saying that our forecasts on climate change, the numbers are actually worse than what we predicted. It's happening at a faster rate. So yeah, a lot of this legacy mentality still exists. So I don't shame them for it. It's unfortunate, but the world around us is telling us where's the push to change it. Because even the consumer is the one that dictates that, because they're not buying gas cars all of a sudden, especially if only 2, maybe 4% after 2019 account for the whole entire market.
And I'm with you on all of that. And I think that kind of correlates with somebody releasing a plan saying, well, we're going to continue to build gas cars for another 5 to 10 years. I mean, I still think that's stretching it a bit, but for them to come out and say a figure like, oh no, we're going to have gas cars for at least 30 years is patently insane. Yeah. I mean, cars won't look anything like what we have today in 30 years. I mean, think of how fast technology is advancing. To make a statement that goes out 3 decades, I don't know what the point was, but it was almost like defiant, like, you know, screw you guys. We're going to be doing this forever. It's like, you know, that's they're on drugs at this point.
You're not going to see gas cars at CES. Just doesn't happen. Everything is electric now. This has been happening over the last, say, 4 years at CES.
We're 2% now, but it's soon going to hit 4, and then that's going to become 8, and then that's going to become 16. I mean, we're at the hockey stick point here. This thing is on a rocket ride for the next 10 years. So to say in 30 years you're still in that business. Whew.
Well, I fear for them because they may end up waking up someday, and it's probably too late for them. They've been sitting on their laurels for so long, and things are not rosy with the.
They're going to have a hell of a time catching.
Well, the things are not.
I was going to say, it's one thing to say we're going to continue producing it. It's a whole different thing to say how many and how much of our market will be produced that are gas. You know, like if I'm Apple and I'm producing an iPhone now, you know, maybe 20 years from now, the way we use mobile devices totally changes where you don't even have to hold the device in your hand. I mean, you know, we've had the glasses experiment and whatever, but imagine we get to a point where literally it's a cashless economy and you're not holding phones. You just walk up to a device and you think of what you want to order and it comes out. I mean, we don't know what technology is going to reveal in the next several decades. But that being said, if Apple came out today and said, we're not going to produce any more iPhones after 5 years from now, people would go freaking nuts. Going, how can you not do this?
Kill your business.
So any stark idea such as this one, where we're going to continue producing cars for the next 3 decades, yeah, it sounds kind of crazy on the surface. And I'm with you, Ian, on your points are certainly very valid. But I also feel like I go back to what I said before, is they don't have a reason to not do that. They're looking at the market. They're seeing their numbers. They have their stockholders. They have their buyers. They have their consumers. You know, they have their legacy owners. Nothing tells them they should be changing that mindset in the next 5, 10, 20 years. They may decide 10 years from now the market bears differently, and they say, okay, no, we really have to change that. But there's nothing wrong in saying it today. Whether it materializes in 30 years, we're going to find out. But I don't see the harm in saying it today. Where's the incentive to change it right now?
Yeah.
So.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it, but it's sad for those guys, and things are not rosy on the other side of the fence, too, because, I mean, the EQC, for example, the Mercedes one, has not been selling very well. Now, there's a lot of people that have been saying, well, it's not necessarily because of demand, because there are some tariffs or something like that, or some incentives that haven't come in yet and stuff like that, so that may change for them. And, you know, even though Volkswagen, for example, has started production of the ID3, which looks very promising as far as I'm concerned, but they've all been held back because of software problems. So they've got this huge fleet of cars that they've built that they can't sell yet because the software's broken. So they got to go back, and because they can't do it over the air, now they got to send out technicians to fix all these things. So anyways, you know, when Elon says that, you know, takes good software engineering, yeah, I believe it, especially because all these car companies are putting so much tech now into these new modern cars, especially with the electric ones now, that they really got to get their collective, you know what, together. Anyways, enough talk about that. Let's move on. Another article from our friends at Teslarati. This one's really interesting. I caught this one just late today. Tesla is returning to the pwn-to-own hacking competition with a Model 3 as a target and a prize. Now, this is not new news because they did do it last year. Mm-hmm. So last year made headlines when they offered a mid-range Model 3 rear-wheel drive as a prize at the pwn-to-own hacking competition, which allowed them to win the vehicle and over $350,000 in prize money. Tesla obviously is a company that never likes to sit still. So this year they're going back and armed with a much more secure Model 3 because, some of the flaws that they found in it have been patched. This time around, Tesla's offering 3 tiers of prizes for hackers who can find vulnerabilities in the Model 3. Hackers who wish to claim the highest Tier 1 prize would need to pivot through multiple systems in the car to find vulnerabilities, but if they are successful, they will win the Model 3 and $500,000 prize, but that's not all. Contestants can also aim to acquire additional options to increase the cash prize to $700,000.
Oh, and also get a shirt that says "I hacked the Model 3 and all I got was a stupid T-shirt."
I like this. I mean, we just talked about the other manufacturers struggling with software, and here's Tesla saying, "Here you go crazy." I love it.
It serves a double-pronged approach. The first is if there are flaws, you then learn how to make your system more secure and more stable. But secondly, it's just fun to get people to come out there and go, I can do it. That ego, the challenge of it just makes people want to do it. So it's good. I look forward to finding out if someone can in fact hack into the car because, as
and they will.
Well, I'm saying, but as software engineers and as security specialists, you always want to know. I mean, it's like when you write your own paper, you could read it time and again. You may not see the mistakes, but you hand it to somebody else and they can find 7 errors in it just in the first paragraph. You're blinded by your own work. So it's good to hand off the vehicle and go, okay, now you guys take a look at it. And then, you find out what's wrong and you fix it.
It's very important that these cars, because they're getting more and more connected, especially with the Teslas now, because, over-the-air software updates, private VPN connections to head office, that these things get beat up on by the hackers to trying to find the vulnerabilities. I mean, what was it just less than a few years ago where Jeep, FCA, had a problem with the Cherokees where people could remotely take over the car's braking system. So that was a major fail on their part. So, this stuff is important. I'm in the software computer business, and I fix websites that have been intruded by people and stuff all the time. So it's one of those things you got to be cognizant of. So I wish them all the best luck, and you know what? May the best hacker win. Yeah. And we are the beneficiaries because we get all the patches. So somebody's going to be driving around in a nice Model 3 and a bucket of cash in their car.
And a new referral code.
Use Earl's referral code. Well, that's most of the news that we have. Let me see here. Just double check, make sure I didn't miss anything. No, we didn't. Any thoughts before we get into questions? Crickets.
We got a lot of questions.
No, wait, we got a lot of questions. So we're going to take this opportunity here. We're going to take a very short break to hear from one of our sponsors, and we'll be right back. We're going to answer your viewer and listener questions. FineLab has a line of protective coatings that were engineered to protect your Tesla's paint, leather, carpet, plastic, and wheels, effectively blocking all those UV rays and environmental factors before they ever get to ruin your brand new baby. FineLab offers a complete line of car care products and ceramic coatings for both the do-it-yourselfer and professional detailers. Did we mention we also have the world's first self-healing coating? Check us out at finelab.com, that's spelled F-E-Y-N-L-A-B, to see the science behind the self-healing. Check out our product catalog and click Contact Us for a free quote from a certified installer in your area. FineLab and Tesla. We were meant for each other. Well, it's that time on the show where we answer your viewer and listener questions. First question comes from our friend Jay, and I know where this is coming from. He says, what steering mode do you use, comfort, standard, or sport, and why? The reason he's asking this is because I did a ride-along with my friend Mark a few days ago, and I happened to slip it out that I use comfort mode. And Jay's like, why are not you got a P3D, why are you not using sport? I don't know, I'm an old man, That's just the way I like my steering. There are times I will switch it.
Sport.
Do you?
Yeah, I love having sport mode. Are you kidding me? Minimal moving on the wheel. It's just, oh yeah, you know what the car is doing. It's fantastic.
You know what? I'll probably use it when I go down to Florida.
I'm not driving a Cadillac.
No, God, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but in the summer, especially when I have the really wide tires on, I generally run comfort because there's so much feedback from them.
That's it. I quit the show. I can't.
That's it. My cover's blown now. I'm a wimp.
Oh no!
No, I run my winter tires. I run standard because I find comfort with the winter tires. The steering is so light to begin with. Like there's like no feedback. It's like just super airy. I can't handle it.
Yeah, but, it's terrible right now because
sport mode.
We are old.
Oh my goodness.
That is a factual statement.
Yeah. Yeah, right now it's pretty bad because, with winter tires, with the tread being so high and stuff, everything is squishy on the car.
I put it back to standard, Trev. That's what I do
Yeah.
for winter tires. Yeah, you'll find it's way better because it is
Okay,
way
I'll do
too
that.
easy to see comfort with winter tires.
All right. Well, that's what I'll do for my coffee morning
Please,
run tomorrow.
Canadians, continue this enlightening conversation about
Oh,
snowy
sorry.
weather.
All right, moving along here. Next question comes from Fawad. Fawad asks, is Tesla using a combination of one-click shopping and no refund policy on their upgrade options as a mean to boost sales with no confirmation of purchase? Owners are likely to inadvertently become owners of FSD.
It's all part of the master plan.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think it's, if you're doing it through the app, that's one thing. If you're doing it on the website, I think it's different. But you have to be very careful because if you have your credit card on file with Tesla, that's where it's going to get charged, right? Obviously, you don't have much of a choice these days with the Model 3 being, pay as you go supercharging. You have to have a credit card on file and be able to use that, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
You can also use Apple Pay on your phone.
that's true. So there's a double click there. I mean, other people may have something different, but yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I bought FSD with the car, so I actually go in on my tab that says upgrades on my car. It says wah wah. There's nothing you can buy because you got everything. So for now, who knows what else they're going to bring up, right? So yeah, it probably brings up a good point. You got to be careful with that because you never know, right?
True.
I mean, it wouldn't matter if you're buying a $5 item on Amazon or any other e-commerce platform, or if you're spending $7,000 on FSD. The reality is you have just to be conscientious of when you're tapping it. Almost all these resources are like, "Are you sure?" And then just kind of BS. But I mean, you have to really go through the steps to get this added to your car. Like, I mean, for someone to even theoretically ask, like, can it be a mistake? Like, you have to really screw up to make that a major mistake. So, make sure you don't butt order FSD, I guess, is the story here.
Oh, my gosh. Well, the other option, of course, is call your credit card company and lower your limit. But maybe that's
probably the name of the
feasible.
show now. Don't butt order FSD.
I would agree. That's what we're going to do. All right, next question comes from Carlo. He says, do you guys have to yell for voice commands? I've noticed at times when I do, even when I'm not in the highway. I have to agree, there's times when it doesn't pick up the very first time, and I have to raise my voice to get it to come up. Have you guys noticed that?
I want the 3 hot dogs! Yeah, I'm fine.
Bacon, not hot dogs.
I'm sorry, bacon.
Yeah, no, it's really weird in mine, and this has been going on a long time. I know we've all had difficulties with the new voice commands. The servers were overloaded for the first few days, etc. But ever since I've had the car, every so often it just acts like it doesn't hear me at all, and I can scream at it and it won't do a thing. And then
I've
I'll
had it for a while, even before the updates.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's just a little 1 out of 10 times or something. Like you press the button, boop, and then you say like, okay. Play B-52s or something, and it just doesn't understand. It keeps asking you, please say something.
Voice commands are very early days right now. I've noticed with texting, when I get a text message comes in, it's fine. When I hit reply and I dictate, nothing comes up. So I kind of trust that it works, and I press send, and it does send. But most of the time, it doesn't dictate it. So I don't know. Maybe I got to give my car another quick reboot. But
I mean, you can roam if you want to.
Yeah. It has been a little buggy, and we are certainly working on it. By the way, I should mention one more time, I did do a video a few days ago. There is a glossary or a reference, a web app that you can actually, well, it's not a web app you actually download onto your phone. I did a video on it. It's called Voice. You can download it. It's Tesla Voices, teslavoice.glideapp.io. And it's a WebView app because what the guys are doing is that it is referencing a crowdsourced Google spreadsheet of all the found commands, and I haven't looked at how many we found so far as of today, but when I did the video, it was about 121 commands. So if you're still trying to learn how to use the voice command system in the car, well, we've been documenting it on the forum, and these guys wrote a really cool web app you can put on the phone. So anyways, check it out.
What do you think of the voice that responds when it reads messages to you?
Oh, it's the same one they use for navigation, isn't it? It's like that Google thing that's going on. I wish there was a way we could change it.
Change it. Right?
I'd love to change it. I'd like to have like Morgan Freeman talking to me on my phone.
Just have like the Waze app.
Or Christopher Walken.
Voices.
Yeah, Christopher Walken.
How great would it be if it was Elon's voice?
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Tweet that out at him. Tell him we got to do that. We have
All
to.
of our listeners are now tweeting, Elon, make it your voice. Elon,
Yeah.
Get your voice.
Yeah, let's do it,
not
man.
Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda, that's not a good idea.
You know, it's too bad. I will say that it's too bad Douglas Rain is no longer with us because he would make an awesome voice. HAL 9000.
That would be
I'm sorry, Ian. I can't do that. Oh, that'd be creepy.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Next question comes from Bill. He says, "Do the brake lights come on when regressive brakes are working?" I think he's talking about regenerative braking. When regen.
Yes.
Yes. The answer is yes. Tesla's algorithm is such that it actually simulates you braking. The brake lights come on. It's simulated just like if you were braking. Don't worry about it. It takes care of everything. All right. Next question comes from our friend Pierre. He says, "Safety concerns since you have Elon Musk's attention." Only occasionally. Anyways, he says, "I am suggesting to add an off control for the wiper manual setup. In Canada and Quebec, winter brings very difficult visibility concerns, and being able to put wipers off would help. Last update makes automatic very crazy."
Wait, is he saying he can't turn off his wipers?
Pierre is not aware that you can shut them off. And actually, I'll be the first to admit I had the car 6 months before I figured this out.
Come on!
Swear to God, I did not know this. If you just hold the button down for 2-3 seconds, boop,
No, when you bring the card up, if you just tap the logo where it says the wiper, you toggle it on and off. That's it.
Yeah, or you single wipe and it comes up automatically. Tap it again, turn it off.
Yeah,
you definitely
So, don't know. I mean, voice commands, turn wipers off. That works too. Yeah. Well, Pierre also had a follow-up question. He says, "Since you have Elon Musk's attention again, I'm suggesting you provide a very small glycol spray inside the rear camera so that when we put the vehicle in reverse, the lens is clean." You know what? I would love that because my rear camera gets really dirty, and I rely on the backup camera quite a bit.
Well, we talked about this on an earlier show, and I'm dead serious. I think this is going to be a huge problem for FSD in markets such as ours if it doesn't get addressed. You have to have something to clean the lenses, especially with salt. Once salt builds up on there and keeps drying off, it like the whole thing.
And I'm sorry, a hydrophobic coating does not help with that.
No, it
only helps with water. If you get minerals or anything on there when it dries, it still gets deposited.
I'm telling you, I'm already thinking of ways to integrate like a little pod that would add on to both to the repeater cams and to the rear, where you could then, create a retrofit kit to put washers into them.
So my question is, because I live in a not frigid climate, we call it Florida, or the taint of the United States. If you, I didn't know that. You learn something new every day. If you have a vehicle in cold climates like that, I mean, obviously, I've seen drivers with ice scrapers for their windshields and when there's frost and things like that. What would your routine be if you didn't have a car with cameras on it that you had to treat before you could drive onto the road? What are some routine things you would do as Canadians?
Well, if you're a normal person, you would actually sweep the snow off your car and scrape your windows properly. However, there are many people down here who do the absolute bare minimum, which is 6 square inches on the front of the window, and that's it. Not even the side windows. Don't take the snow off the top of the car, drive around with a foot of snow. There are some real idiots out there, let me tell you.
And thankfully, you will get ticketed for that, certainly in Quebec and Ontario.
So until such time that it's possible, whether it's through technology or from other means, would just manually taking your glove and just swiping the lens be
I am
sufficient?
in the habit of doing that.
Okay.
Yeah. The ritual for us all up here. It's the first thing like pilots do the walk around in the car. I do my camera.
And this is irrelevant whether your car is garage kept or not, because I know obviously if you have salt in the roads, just the driving, even keeping it overnight in your car, your car is not exposed to the elements, but whatever minerals are on your vehicle from the commute into your house are now going to dry overnight in your car. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, but I'll tell you, it happens almost instantaneously. Like if my car is
really.
And I hit the road, and we've got a typical Quebec road where there's this perfect mixture of slushy snow, water, and salt. Within 2 to 5 minutes of driving, the side cameras are so badly covered that the FSD is not coming back until I stop the car and clean them, and then it will last 5 minutes on the road.
Heated spray washers would go a long way, and this is not out of the ordinary. It's many German cars that have them for headlights.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean,
do you get a lot of alerts for the AP and stuff on your screen as far as
yeah.
blind side detection and all that stuff?
Yeah. Left camera's obscured. No
Yeah,
autopilot for you.
exactly.
Wow.
Basic autopilot, like lane keeping, works pretty reliably because that only needs the 3 forward-looking cameras. So that
Right.
thing
Yes.
works almost in any condition. But it goes to prove that if you just have something to keep the cameras clean.
I will say I experienced it the other day when we went down to Niagara Falls with some friends of ours in the car, and it hadn't snowed all that much, and snow was building up, and it just froze just the right way on the front of my car, and I lost traffic aware cruise control and auto steer. I had to literally stop on the side of the road and brush the snow or the slush or whatever it was on the whole nose of the car because the radar couldn't see anything. And of course, got in the car and everything came back instantaneously.
I'm now thinking back to when they were testing Model 3 in all the various climate environments around the world, when they were even like shipping the car to different places to drive the vehicle. I wonder if they learned some things in those initial tests that they're going to develop in the future. Because when I mentioned on one of our recent shows about FSD, I don't see it coming out this year in a way that's going to be viable for a lot of data, other than just getting some very, very preliminary data points in those cars. It largely is for things like this, where there are some limitations based on various climates. And right now, winter is obviously happening in the Northern Hemisphere. The majority of people do experience, weathery conditions that are sleet, snow, hail, some frigid conditions, where someone like me in Florida is like, hey, we don't really have that problem. So testing that here is fine. But if the majority of the world is above the equator and the majority of them are experiencing snowy conditions, I kind of wonder how they could do that long term.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I don't have any evidence of this, but it's just a gut feeling that when Tesla does cold weather testing of the cars for any new car that they develop before they release them, I think it's drivetrain related. I don't think it's about much else other than that. I mean, yeah, okay, if a door freezes, it's like, okay, it's one thing, but I think it's mostly drivetrain related. I could be wrong. And I'm sure lots of engineers are shaking their hands at us right now. Yeah. But I don't see any evidence of it, because if you guys actually thought this thing through, we wouldn't be talking about some of this stuff.
It's really the only winter failing of the car. So I have to think they did their homework and the rest of it. Like, we know they went through some charge port problems early on. Like, I had my charge port changed, as many people did, because of the pin freezing. But the rest of it has worked fantastically well. I mean, all this stuff about the door handles and the windows and all these other things you'd figure a California car company would not be able to figure out. That stuff's all been working great. So overall, the car is like a 99% success.
Right. I had my door handles freeze the other day, and quick one thump.
Exactly.
It's no big deal.
So overall, I think they did an excellent job. But this is just the one glaring thing, and I have to think it's like
it's a huge glaring thing.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's like as if when they did all their cold weather testing, they were really, like you say, Trev, it's like, okay, let's work on the HVAC, on the drivetrain, the battery heating, the car's dynamics, all that stuff that's super well sorted. And somehow it's like, maybe we should go for a drive on a really salty day and see what happens with the cameras.
Yeah, I think Tesla should have a more of an engineering presence. We do know that they have an engineering presence in Montreal. I've been told that many occasions whenever I had issues.
Is like the relay zone. So much of the technicians' work up here gets fed back, piped directly into the network back in California. That I've talked to a few of the service guys here, and it's like, oh yeah, we talk to them all the time for this reason.
I would just all I have to say is I would implore Tesla, probably too late for Model Y at this point, but maybe for Cybertruck, send some engineers up here and do some winter testing in real world conditions. All right, time to move on here. Next question comes from our friend Lars at Tesla Para Todos YouTube channel. Hey, Lars, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for submitting a question. He says, hey, guys, Elon wants to design a car in China. Imagine a Tesla designed in China for Europe and Asia. What would that car look like? What innovative features would you imagine? Why design it in China, not Hawthorne? How do you think Franz feels right now? Well, we did mention a little bit earlier that, that is the plan, to put a design center in China. And we did talk very quickly about the possibility of more of a Cybertruck type of influence in other cars. I don't know. I think, like I said before, I think there's an untapped market. I think a lot for some designers in China and stuff. As far as Franz is concerned, I mean, he's the chief, man. I think he would still have say on just about everything that goes on. That's just the way Tesla operates. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think there's a little bit of a PR relations thing there too, because don't forget, they're the first car company that set up their own factory that is not owned in majority by the Chinese. That's never happened before.
That's true.
Maybe this is kind of a little play. It's like, look, we'll give you some extra cred here, like we'll open up a design center in China, that obviously is going to be like a little crown jewel for China to say, hey, look, we got a Tesla design studio here,
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that place. That's just me spitballing an idea. I don't know.
Cool. All right, next question comes from Don. He says, will we be able to keep our hardware 2.5 computer when upgraded to the FSD or hardware 3? The answer is no.
No.
Tesla wants those computers back. They do not want those computers out in the open. There have been some hackers out there, namely the Green the Only, who's fantastic with autopilot stuff, but he buys those off of eBay, probably from parted out cars and stuff like that. So, by the way, if you'd like to have him on the show, I'm in a very nice way. Ask him. I reached out to him, and he politely declined at this point. But I'd love to have him on the show. So, anyways.
So would I.
Some people don't succumb to peer pressure, okay, Trevor? You can't just tweet at Elon and he's going to answer everyone's question like, okay, guys, I'll go on your show now.
Elon, you're welcome to come on the show anytime you like.
Yes,
if you are listening.
We beg of thee.
We're not begging anybody. All right, moving on. Next question comes from Martin. He says, guys, love the show since day one. Oh, thank you, Martin. I really appreciate that. Every now and then, could you please promote level 1 trickle charging? Too many people are bashing, oh, it's so slow. Yes, however, charge at home or work while idle. No expensive 240 install necessary. Best for the battery. The math is 5 miles per hour times 10 hours is times 365 days equals 18,000 miles a year, 7 billion miles a year, less pressure on the supercharger network. Comments and thanks.
Well, for starters, no one's charging their car every day, 10 hours a day.
Our Volt does. I mean, because.
Well, but I'm saying, like, depending upon look, if you're talking about overnight charging, sure, you could, but if my car is at the office, that's one thing. I may not be able to charge there, but the overall argument, regardless of the number, the overall argument is a valid one, which is charging the vehicle any chance you get, especially if you drive a lot of commutes that are local. In fact, most people drive under 40 miles a day. Which means if that metric is correct, then pretty much everybody can just use level 1 charging with an EV and you're totally covered. I think the demand on supercharging is interesting, especially now that, congratulations, Canada, you can now drive from coast to coast on the supercharging network. Woo woo. Hat tip to Evan X for posting that story about it.
Thank you.
But I will say that I'm someone who tries to use destination charging when I can. I've yet to use a wall connection just because a lot of the ones that I have access to, my charging connection doesn't fit. The plug doesn't fit correctly. But yeah, I rarely use supercharging anyway. But there's valid points. He's got a lot of valid points. But there's tons of autos now that use level 1 charging, especially when there's shopping centers and the like that do offer free charging. Most of the time, they're level 1 wall chargers.
If you don't have a choice, you don't have a choice. You got to use it. I do know some people that have started with level 1 and they've been able to do it. I have a neighbor close to, not very far from me, matter of fact, and he has a standard range Model 3, and he charges on level 1, and he's been able to make it work for him. Although he did ask me to come over to help him out on a couple things, and he says, "Yeah, I think I really need to put a 240 in," which is fine.
Yeah,
I know for me, having the 240 is magnificent because I literally plug in the car and I never have to worry waking up in the morning. Did the car charge? Did I get enough charge?
Yeah.
It's like I never have to worry about it. I will say that I have been to friends' places. My cousin in Montreal, for example. The most I ever get out of his wall socket, because he has a very old house, is maybe 8 amps. So it's dreadfully slow. It's dreadfully slow. So the times when I have used level 1, it's like, okay, if we need to go anywhere and I need a charge, we're not using this car. We have to use something else. That's just me. But those are very, very rare instances. And most of the time, like I said, I do all my charging at home. So I get it. I understand that. I'm never going to say to anybody, you need 240. I said 240 is preferable for daily driving so that you don't have any range anxiety concerns or battery charging concerns. We all know as EV owners that the number one question that people is out of people's mouths when they consider these cars is, what about the charging, right? And of course, it opens up a big can of worms. So anyways, if you're thinking about a Model 3 or any Tesla or any EV for that matter, start with 120, see where it leads you, and then from that point, then you can make a decision. But don't let it be a deterrent for you not to get an EV.
Oh,
Yeah.
These are awesome.
I've always said if you have an outlet somewhere, I have a gas station for my car. I can. I mean, if I plug it in, we're good to go. And there's outlets everywhere.
I derive a perverse pleasure from charging off 110. I just plug this in like your phone or a hairdryer and puts that much energy into an object that can go screaming down the road, at 90 miles an hour. Think about it. Like how much energy at the end of the day that'll accumulate overnight that it can do all this work from this lonely little plug in the wall, it's cool.
All right, we got to move on here.
Hair
There's lots of questions to talk about here. Let's see here. Which one can we answer next? Hey, our friend Raj. Raj submitted a question. Hey, Raj.
Get out of here. He actually took the bet. All right.
Raj says, thoughts on a dedicated Tesla team whose sole purpose is to sell or pitch custom solutions for big purchase orders for law enforcement, postal government, employee vehicles, taxi, etc. Many of these would not require or need AP system, and stripping them out and providing a clean, fast, low-maintenance car would allow for some large sales. Oh, man, I'm with you there. Yeah. I don't know what it is. I mean, where was it? Was it in Illinois, the police department? I tweeted it out the other day. I should have recorded it.
Model 3?
Yeah, they bought a Model 3. Now, in all fairness, they're in a small community, so they bought one car as a starting point, and they love it so much that they want to continue getting more for the rest of the fleet. Most of the cars in municipal areas are not driving all that much. They don't really need crazy amounts of range. I think a long-range Model 3 is more than enough for these police departments. These guys have shown that they can certainly do it. I think it would be great, and I think it needs more education on the police department's thing. However, you also have to remember that there are incumbent car manufacturers out there who have large fleet deals going on with a lot of these places. Budgets are usually set years in advance for the retirement of these cars and stuff. So I don't think it's an easy solution to just say, here you go, you should be doing this. I think there's some governmental stuff, I think, but a lot of it has to do, you know what?
Bureaucracy at work.
Bureaucracy at work, yes. But I will say this, sometimes, and I do know some police enforcement officers that are Model 3 owners themselves. And that ownership experience does permeate those departments, and the word does get out. So I think in due time, it's not going to be immediate, but over time, I think you're going to start seeing more of these police departments actually starting to consider it now, because it's like a virus, right? This Tesla thing gets into the people, and it gets into the department. So, and you guys out there who know us, you know who you are. Very good question, Raj. I believe you 100%. I think it needs to happen. We're starting to see it with taxi fleets now. So as this visibility starts getting out there, I think the police departments and all the others will follow. But it's going to be an uphill battle. So if you have any pull with your local mayor or areas and stuff like that, it's an education thing. We know our mayor here quite well, and he's just one of those guys. He's into it, but he's not an owner yet. So I think it takes to be an owner thing. So anyways, moving along. Next question comes from Frome. He says, pardon me, do you think Tesla is sandbagging the performance and range of the Model Y on the website? Imagine they are showing conservative estimates. Model 3 has been upgraded over the last year. Where do you think these figures will end up for the Model Y once they start to get delivered? Thanks, longtime viewer and Model 3 performance owner. The answer is yes. Typical Tesla fashion, they sandbag their numbers. They did it for Model 3. They've done it for Model S. I mean, you name the car.
They'll do it for Plaid.
They will do it for the Plaid. They're all going to do it for the Roadster. I mean, we already know the Roadster spec numbers on the website are supposedly going to get better, and I do believe when they say that it will actually happen. So
under promise, over
deliver. Yes, exactly.
I mean, that's their mantra.
Now, by how much? Well, we're talking tenths of a second here. We're not talking like major league numbers and stuff, but definitely tenths of a second.
Well, I find it a very interesting question because Model Y was revealed in March, right?
March.
When did we get the first 10% performance boost, or first 5% performance boost? Sorry.
Somewhere around summertime, I guess it was.
It was late spring, I want to say.
I think it was maybe a little, yeah.
Well, we had two of them, so maybe that's why I'm getting confused.
Can we agree that it was after the Model Y launch? Hard to say.
I don't
right?
remember.
I can't remember. This year's
I'm
been.
getting
last year was a
older,
blur.
but I mean, I don't remember. I don't keep a log of these things.
You're not old like us, though, right?
Hey, think about it. I mean, we're only 2 months away from a year from when the Model Y was announced.
Well, here's my thought on this. It's because there's two things. We know traditionally that they've always sandbagged their numbers. Like whatever they publish, even if there's no change to the car whatsoever, you can go out and test it, and you're always going to beat their numbers. So that's the baseline that we know. Like you said, Trev, it'll be a tenth or two quicker on the numbers that they generate.
Exactly. So,
however, they announced those numbers in March, and we've subsequently got for sure at least one 5% power boost, and perhaps both of them have occurred after those announcements. So I think Froman's question is, well, do those boosts apply to the Y? Because if they do, and theoretically, because it's a Model 3 drivetrain, they do, then already it's significantly better if it's got those boosts factored in.
Yes. Yeah. I think when we see the Model Y, we will see some better numbers on this. We're going to see a couple other things up their sleeve they haven't really talked about quite yet. Because, Tesla's not one to put all their cards on the table all the time. They like to.
I mean, if it's 5% faster though, in terms of the acceleration, you're talking what, maybe a tenth of one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's a fractional number. Like it's not going to make that big a difference. I mean, look, I'm not a car guy to the extent where like these numbers, get me all aroused and stuff. But what I would love our audience to, and by all means, tweet the show. Tweet the show and let us know. Why do these numbers matter so much? If the car is advertised at say 2.7 and someone on a flat course gets it to 2.5, okay, that's one person driving it, maybe ideal conditions, no wind, flat course, dry course, whatever it is. We're always going to see people go, okay, I can beat that. I can get 2.4. Yeah, I get it, but it's still a bloody fast car, right? Like it to me, whether we fiddle the numbers or not, who cares? Like is it gonna all of a sudden make a person go, I would have bought that car if it was only 0.2 of a second faster. Like, no, you know what I mean? Like I already predicted in 2020 this thing's gonna outsell the Model 3 in its initial launch. So I don't know. I don't know what the fascination is with performance and speed and numbers, but
you just hit on bragging rights. This is the culture we're in.
It's stupid. It's bravado. It's masculinity masqueraded as a car. Like, no. Can we cut the crap? Seriously.
All right. Next question comes from Ben. He says, I'm one of the new Tesla owners who helped Q4 stats grow. Hey, well, congratulations, Ben. I'm sure Tesla thanks you for that. He says, I was supercharging in Colorado in minus 15 F temperatures. I heard a lot of metallic thumping sounds underneath. We know where this is going. Is this normal? Also, for a new owner, what are some of the best ways to manage phantom drain? I feel I lose 3 to 5% when the car sits overnight. Not too big of an issue, but if there are ways that could work out the settings, I'd improve that drain. I love the show. You guys are the best. Thank you. Yes, the thumping sounds you have are completely normal on the Model 3. As the battery pack heats up and stuff, it causes the floor pans on the car to what we call oil can, which is heat expansion, just makes it go thump. And then when it cools, it thump, comes back. Completely normal. It freaks people out the first time. I had forgotten about it the first time. And I was like, oh, yeah, right, okay. The thing is, it never happened to me on the X, and I don't think it happens on the S. This is pretty much a Model 3 thing, so...
There is a second part to that, though. Apparently, there's vents on the pack, and I think there's an upgraded part that you can get. So if you're experiencing a lot of this, I think in certain cases they've been changing they call it
a battery breather vent, is what they call it.
That's exactly what I was looking for. So the breather vent, in certain cases, I know they've been changing them if you have this problem to the extreme.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me. I've heard about the thing, but it's just like, whatever.
Also, the vampire drain, two things could be causing it. One is check some of your vehicle settings. Sensor mode, we do know, does cause some battery drain because it's leaving the cameras on all throughout the evening. But the second thing is if you live in a cold climate, these guys can certainly tell you that if you're in a cold climate, you're going to lose some energy overnight through heat loss as a result of the batteries cooling down and getting frigid. So just like your tires can lose pressure overnight, your car can also lose energy in cold climates.
A little tip for you, Ben. Consider changing the charging time on your car to minimize some of this loss. I have my car set, my car lives outside. I have my car set to start charging at midnight, and my maximum charge limit is 90%. When I wake up in the morning, the car is already at 87. So I do experience the battery drain as well. But what you can do is you can change your, if you only need the car, let's say at 8 a.m. or something like that, consider changing your charge time to somewhere closer to 8 a.m. Maybe start charging at maybe 4 in the morning or something like that. Like, I don't know where your SOC starts at, but play around with the charging time, because what happens is that battery drain, it starts when the car is actually at the top level and it comes back down. So if you can shift that charging so that it's closer to where you need to be in the morning, you'll find that that will help you tremendously.
And
And
then
for
also,
those that didn't, I was going to say, go ahead, Amy.
I was going to say, and the other thing too is you're putting, heat into the battery at that point, so it's nice and warm, and you get a lot
Right.
more regen. You're ready to go.
That's true. Yeah.
And now we have the luxury of departure time, right? So you can set, okay, I want to leave every morning at 8 a.m. and the car remembers it. So you don't even have to do the math on this. It'll work charging out, so it just finish charging when you want to go.
Ben will give you one more tip too. In the mornings before you depart, at least half an hour before you depart, go into the settings on your app for the climate control and turn up the heat. And also, if you really want to help things too, go into your charge and actually move the slider to 100% and start the charge. That will start heating up the battery as well. So those two little things do help.
Just remember to turn it back down when you can.
Yes, exactly. Remember, Model 3 does not have a dedicated battery heater like the S and the X do. That is because the car is more efficient. It's designed to be more efficient. The trade-off is that it takes longer to heat the battery pack because it's using what's called waste heat scavenging, which is circulating glycol through the power electronics and the autopilot computer and all this other stuff to gather heat, rather than having this really energy expensive dedicated battery heater like the S and the X do to heat the car. So it's about efficiencies, but there's a trade-off. It takes longer to heat. So at least half an hour before you leave. Those are a couple things that can probably help you out. All right, moving on. Let's see here. Eric, do you want to try one of these?
I mean, I guess I could.
The
I'm trying to think. Do you think all-weather protection kits affect range, and if so, by how much?
The answer would be no. I have them on my car. I haven't noticed a lick of difference.
Oh, they're especially the Tesla ones. They're so tiny. There's no way that's having any significant hit on range.
Speaking of the Tesla ones, by the way, because they have started releasing them for the Scandinavian countries. I know it hasn't made it into the U.S. yet. They've been showing up now in fairly decent numbers in the Canadian shops now. You can basically walk in and get them. They're pretty small. I have the aftermarket Chinese ones. I forget what they are. They're fairly large. They cover up. They're easy to install. They work quite well. I have seen the Canadian ones. They're little itty bitty ones, and they put them in the front. And I just saw some reports there today that some people are feeling that they're too short, which is still allowing sand and debris to get behind it into the body cavity. So, unfortunately, I would like to be able to have a set to show you both on camera. Maybe I'll do that. Hopefully, in the next couple of shows, I'll be able to show you some of that stuff, because I am entitled to go and get a free set, even though I have something on my car. So maybe I'll do something like that and show you guys what the differences are. So I'll make a point of doing that.
So here's a good question from Stuart. I think it's worth asking. So do you guys think that hardware version 3 will be made available to those that have not purchased full self-driving? If so, would it be for a few that is less than what FSD currently costs? Reason the question is being asked is that new cars are being built with version 3 already installed, and they do not have FSD unlocked. Would it make sense to do the entire fleet with V3?
It's a very good question. As far as making it available for those who have made FSD, no, the answer is no. Tesla's not in the business of offering free retrofits to older cars.
Not in such an expensive part. No,
well, it's an expensive part, right?
That would, financially, I think it'd be suicidal.
Especially the number of Model 3s that are on the road that don't have V3 hardware in it.
I mean, what do you need it for, really?
Yeah.
Until you need FSD.
Please remember that until Tesla gets legislative authorization to turn on some of the FSD stuff, there is no reason to actually have the Autopilot 3 computer at this point. I mean, okay. So you see garbage cans in the U.S. and you see snow, and you see, cones. Yeah. But other than that, I mean, there's nothing you can turn on that actually makes it better than anything else right now. It's mostly the visualizations, which, don't mean anything at this point, because There's nothing that's any better than what you already have. So if you have FSD, if you bought FSD, you have a 2.5 computer, guess what? You get all the same features I do. I have a hardware 3 computer. It's no different. So until we see some of that stuff happen, and it may take, who knows, another year?
I don't know.
There's no rush.
Let me put a different spin on the reading back Stuart's question. He's saying made available. He's not saying given. So maybe the question is, would I be allowed to buy a hardware 3 computer and just pay for that? Not the FSD. I just want hardware 3 so that I at least get, those little
Anything
display.
is possible, but right now Tesla wants its profit margins for them. Yes, it's less profit margin for somebody who hasn't.
No, but let's suppose the computer costs them $500 and they sell it to you for $1,000 or something like that. That's good profit. I mean, I'll take 100 points.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
But right now, I don't see it. They want the bundle because it's money. All right, where are we, Eric?
Next question. This is from Vidar. It's hard to know. If we're butchering the name, it could be Vidar, but either way, this is someone. Yeah, this is someone from Norway. He or she has a Model 3 long range from June 2019. In Norway, there's a big discussion about having an anti-rust coating on the underbody or not. Now, as in Canada, just like you guys do, there's a lot of salt. We talked about this in the show now. There's a lot of salt on the roads in the winter. When the first Model 3s arrived in March last year, they hadn't had a full Norwegian winter at the time. So some people claim that only crazy owners don't put an underbody coating on their Model 3. On the other hand, the warranty might get invalidated if you were to put a coating on the car. What do you guys think? And have there been reports of rust problems on any Tesla Model 3 in Canada?
Go ahead, Ian.
Well, we've definitely had problems with rust on the leading edge of the rocker panels. That's obviously why this whole mud flap campaign started. Now that was in the early cars. My car, I ran the entire year last year, and I barely got anything. I mean, it sandblasted the whole side of the car, but that's very light pitting. It wasn't like not paint peeling off.
Yeah, paint peeling off. Yeah.
Cars. I know in Quebec, a lot of owners here have chosen to go with a coating just to be 1,000% sure, because to me that was really the only alarming part about buying this car is there is no corrosion warranty on a Model 3. It's the only car I can think of for sale in Canada, certainly in the luxury segment, that has no corrosion warranty on it. So you don't have to worry about invalidating the corrosion warranty. There isn't one. Now maybe in the EU they're offering. I've never looked. That would be interesting to know. But here it's not a concern as far as the warranty goes. But yeah, I'm thinking at some point I'm still going to do mine just to be 1,000% sure.
The only thing I have to throw into the mix here is because we've had a couple of owners club meetings at body shops here in the Toronto area, and I've asked them that very same question. Their response is Tesla doesn't say no to that. The only thing they don't want you to do is go to a rust-proofing place where they do perforation into the body cavities to put the spray in, because Tesla uses dissimilar metals. And anytime you interrupt that, you're asking for corrosion to actually start. So if you do this, they don't seem to care, but do not let them drill into any part of the body to put this stuff in. So.
How many Model S and X owners in Canada have done some underbody protection? Do you guys have any ideas? Do you know people who personally have done it?
No, S and X's are different because they're all aluminum.
Okay.
They corrode, but they don't rust.
Yeah. Yeah, it's less of an issue. Although it's funny, my friend, the body shop guy, says he's seen aluminum panels like the hoods on Ford Explorers or whatever that are all aluminum have some issues with corrosion in winter, but I haven't seen anything reported from an S or an X owner as of yet, and we've had them for a long time now.
Please remember that Tesla, like most other car manufacturers these days, when they do the primer of the car, the whole car is immersed in primer. It's not spray painted on. They actually the whole car literally goes into a bath of primer. So the bath gets into all the little crevices and stuff. So even though they don't have a corrosion warranty, it doesn't mean that they don't do proper priming on the cars. So. All right. How are we, Eric? Right down to the last one?
We got one more question. This just got added during the course of the show.
Oh, really? It just popped up.
We got an American. This is from Amit. Amit says, I have an SR Plus with autopilot, lives in Boston, and parks the car outside the condo, only has access to a 120. So we mentioned that a bit earlier in the show about charging with that. And this driver struggles with mileage. This is my first winter, and I averaged 300 to 400 watts per drive. Any suggestions on how to deal with the situation?
Oh, boy.
So here's a couple things I would think of. Depending upon the kind of commute you have and knowing Boston roads fairly well, there's different terrain. You have a lot of hilly roads. So you certainly can expend a lot of energy on your drive, especially if you're driving a lot of highway mileage. That certainly uses and consumes more energy than you do local city driving. A couple things to consider is what these guys mentioned earlier in the show. So if you missed it, we'll kind of quickly recap it. If you're charging on a 120, try to start your charging as late as you can to kind of time it so that you're close to 90, whatever your cap is, 80, 90, 100% for your charge. You want to try not to exceed 90 for daily commutes, but if need be in these wintry conditions, especially on some really, really harsh winters, some days you can up it to 100 to kind of get the battery warmed up and charged. And that way, when you're close to leaving for work or errands or whatever you're doing, you can at least have your car near its top state of charge before heading out. But if you're getting near 400 watts on your driving, that's pretty aggressive driving. I'm not sure what's causing that. If you're in stop and go traffic, the deceleration should never get that high. The regen should help you with that. But could the heating of the car contribute that much, guys?
Yes, I experience with my car in the mornings. If I don't do a prolonged preheat on the car, 300 to 400 watt hours per mile, or about 240 watt hours per kilometer, is perfectly normal on a Model 3. It is expending quite a bit of energy to heat up the battery pack to get your regen back and all this other stuff. You're heating the cabin. Yeah. If you're doing short distance driving, the car doesn't actually warm up enough for that to actually settle back down. Mm-hmm. I know for me that the initial, it could be as much as sometimes half an hour before that actually starts dropping down to more normal levels in the winter months. The car can be quite efficient in the winter, but there's like a precipitous drop-off point in terms of temperature where it's actually more exacerbated rather than being higher temperatures and stuff. So, but these numbers are not out of the ordinary from what I've seen on my car. But if I go on a long drive, more than an hour, it will come down and settle down.
Now, I will say, though, you have a Model 3 Performance, so I'm not sure if that already is going to maybe skew the number a little bit differently than an SR Plus, or if it's going to be still very, very close either way.
Well, an SR Plus, remember, does not have the second motor in the front. So... and Tesla is doing some funny things with the magnetic fields on the car and the motors to try and heat this up. I think it's more pronounced on the dual motor in the performance cars, namely because you have that second motor in the front. Bjorn actually has done quite a number of videos because he's got that Scan My Tesla thing. And it shows that Tesla's putting 3.7 kilowatts into both motors to try and heat up the battery. So there's a fair amount of energy being used there. I don't know exactly what it is on NSR Plus. Probably half of that.
Yeah. Also, I'll be interested to find out if you're catching up on the show, if you haven't already done so, try using your trip meter, like when you're planning a destination on your car's navigation. Go to your energy graph, and at the top of your screen, you'll see an option for consumption and trip. Tap on trip, and now we can see what your projected energy consumption is for that trip versus what your actuals are. Maybe you'll start noticing if you adapt your driving a bit to be more, to preserve more energy, you'll see if there's a difference. So just kind of keep an eye on that to see if it's already projected like as Trevor said, a precipitous drop in energy consumption. But maybe if you change how you're driving a little bit, if it's possible, you might be able to consume a little more energy, or not expend as much energy.
Gamify your driving. He did mention how fast he's driving too. Of course, driving like you stole it. Obviously, you're not going to get range out of the car. What is 110 kilometers an hour is about 70 miles an hour. So keep it at 70. There's, and I forget exactly what the calculation is. We've talked about this before, but for every certain amount of miles more that you go in terms of speed, that the energy usage goes up. It's almost double. I forget exactly what the calculation is. So I generally find
energy consumption increases at the square.
Yeah,
So
something like
basically,
that.
if you double the speed, you need 4 times the energy.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why Eric and Sean, I think it was in 2017 or 2018, did the long range test of a long range Model 3 driving at about 30 miles per hour, and they got 602 miles out of that car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right. So the faster you drive, the less range you have, and the more energy you use.
we know electric cars get better range efficiency the slower they go.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of the show. I hope that it answered most of your questions that you guys submitted. Thank you very much for doing that. And look for more. We try to do this on every episode that we possibly can. And, well, having said that, Eric, why don't you begin and let people know how they can get a hold of you?
Twitter.com/ECFIX. That's ECFix. Twitter.com/ECFix. You can also find me on... let's see. I'm on the forums the same way that Ian's hair is on his head. So on occasion, I'm there.
Very sparsely is what you're looking for.
I know. I'm occasionally there, but generally Twitter is the best way to get a hold of me. And my thanks to all of my new followers, to all the show supporters, to sponsors. But most importantly, Ian's going to mention some good stuff now about some stuff he's doing to help raise funds for some needy organizations. So do what Ian says and get that stuff.
Take it away, Ian.
Why, thank you. So, yes, on Twitter, @IanPavelko is the place to find me. Tesla Owners Online, the handle is Mad Hungarian. If you have any tech questions or whatever, feel free to reach out to me on both of those platforms. Glad to help anybody I can. And finally, if you're looking for some Tesla wear, we have the Evolve Wear line, which I sell on Teespring, teespring.com. You can go there. Just once you get in there, go in the search engine and look up Mad Hungarian or Evolve
Link will be
Wear.
in the show description.
Yeah, exactly. Make it easy. Just click on the link in the show description and you will find a selection of shirts. And a portion of every shirt sale does get donated to the Quebec Electric Vehicle Association, various other EV associations on a rotating basis throughout Canada, and Plug in America.
Excellent. Well, I guess that leaves me. Before I actually tell you about my handle and where you can find me and stuff, I did want to mention as a follow-up from last week, unfortunately, last minute, we did not get the latest and the updated information on Cars and Coffee that's coming. I will mention that it is February 8th. It will be held in Miami, but I don't want to give you any more details until everything is finally finalized. We might get it as soon as tomorrow. If I do that, I'll tweet it out. I'll put it on social media as fast as we can, but hopefully we should have all the details by then, so you get a chance to see all of us and stuff. We really look forward to having Cars and Coffee at our great sponsors there at FNX that put that on. All right, so that leaves me. If you want to follow me, very active on Twitter. The handle's Model 3 Owners, or you can search for Tesla Owners Online. You can follow me, Trev P. That's my username on the forum. That's TeslaOwnersOnline.com. And I want to say thank you to our great sponsors, the guys at Duliban Insurance, Fine Lab Ceramic Coatings, and the great guys at FNX for sponsoring the show. Anyways, that's it for this time, and we will catch you on the next show. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. See you guys.
Bonsoir tout le monde.
Bye.